So, welcome everyone. My name is Diane Rolston. I am, I guess, the publisher of this book, the fourth in the series. And it is just my absolute joy to be able to bring together such an amazing group of leaders who have given you their stories and secrets. Now, I'll just come out of here for a moment and just share a little bit more from the heart, be able to see a few more of you here that I kept meeting women who would say, "Oh, I'm not an author. Oh, I haven't been in business long enough. Oh, no one wants to hear from me. Who would ever pay me to write a book?" And I'm like, "Are you kidding? The story you told me is amazing. Hearing your bio, hearing you answer questions, hearing you teach things, these are all so amazing. Why don't you have a book out there?" And so after putting out my own book, Dynamic You, The 9 Pillars of Being a Dynamic Woman, I thought, this isn't as hard as it may seem. And I wanted to use my platform to give the voices of these incredible women I keep meeting a place to share. And so I'll share a little bit more first about our series. So back in 2013, as I shared, we started the Dynamic Women community. And from that birthed the first book, Success Secrets, then Confidence Secrets, then Trailblazer Secrets, and why you're here today is Leadership Secrets. And so I will pull out from my copy of the book a little bit more about the series. So I'm going to read little bits from this so you feel like maybe you're in a library or you're at a book signing by an author. And while we can't be here today in the same room, I want you to give you a little bit of that vibe. So each title dives into a core truth about who we are and who we are becoming. These books are proof about what happens when women come together. They're the blueprint for what's possible when we share openly, support fiercely, and lead boldly. And I saw that in every piece that I read. If we look through Success, Confidence, and Trailblazer, same as the books that are up here, you are successful not just in business, but in life. That's what was shared in the first one. You are confident not because you never doubt, because we all do, right? But because you keep showing up anyhow. And you're a trailblazer not because you followed a path, but because you made one. And you're a leader not because of a title, but because of your impact. And I know that the authors in this book, Leadership Secrets, have definitely been making an impact in not only their lives, but impact in other people's lives. And now it's going to be the impact in the people's lives who read this book. First, let me share with you, though, you may be thinking, where's this whole dynamic women thing come from? You're saying it so many times. What's going on? Well, back in 2013, when I went back in after my daughter was born and I went into networking, I thought, boy, is this surface level networking. And I wanted to have a deeper connection to others, even though we were business networking. And I decided at that point, I can either be bitter about it or I can do something about it. And so I created the Dynamic Women community, but I didn't know what to call the community. And the word dynamic came forward, but also the word confidence did. But I think with the word confidence, a lot of people say, I am or I'm not confident. I was born confident or I wasn't. I became confident or I'm not. But dynamic was like, I don't know, maybe I am, maybe I'm not. And when I asked at the start of launch of every location, I heard people, when I asked them what's dynamic mean to you, they would give me the total opposites. Someone who's creative, someone who's analytical, someone who's a great listener, someone who's a great speaker. And I think, wow, this one word encompasses so many different pieces. So in the book, I talk a little bit more about being dynamic, and then I go into being a dynamic leader. So the truth about dynamic leadership is that leadership isn't about a title, a corner office, or how many people report to you. Leadership doesn't look just one way, and thank goodness for that. For too long, we've been fed a narrow version of leadership, assertive, demanding, polished, corporate, but that's not the whole picture, especially if you know the authors here today, right? They all have a different leadership story. You don't have to raise your voice to be heard. A dynamic woman can lead with humor, with softness, with fire, with collaboration, with intuition, with strategy, with all of it. But the question is, will we welcome it? So dynamic women don't wait to be called leaders. They lead by how they live in the good and the bad. They lead with their energy, even when they're having an off day. They lead in their families, with their friends, and even with those they don't know. They lead by how they show up, even how they follow. They lead on stage, and even when no one is watching. She often leads without even knowing it by being the example others silently watch. That's the kind of leadership that changes things. And so that's the type of leadership that this book talks about. It's that different kind of dynamic leadership. And that's kind of what I talk about in my piece, and that is really backed up and shown in that variety by so many others. So now is time for a panel. We have Barb, one of our authors, who is going to moderate this panel. So if you can just raise your hand, Barb, Angie, Megan, and Karen, so that we can easily spotlight you. This is going to be a great panel, and the panel is on authenticity and influence, finding your leadership voice. So we're going to welcome all of those up. Have fun, Barb.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to look at authenticity and influence, finding your leadership voice on this panel. And I'm your panel moderator. I'm Barb Stuhlemmer. I'm a business strategist, and my business is Blitz Business Success. And I'm in this book mainly because Diane, a highly respected, at least I highly respect her, and I know the people who know her or know of her highly respect her, leader, and I just want to be around great leaders like Diane. And the nice thing is, when I came out and got to meet many of the people that are here today, I'm going, wow, this has been a group of really wonderful leaders. So this has been a really lovely experience for me. My book piece was really around because I'm a business leader. I know that business owners feel like they have to control everything. And you don't even have to be a business owner to think that. You might think that you have to control everything, but if you have people around you that are willing to do that work, that are willing to step up and be a leader, you can make some really big differences in your business, like on vacation and not worry while you're gone, or hey, maybe growth in your business. So my section is called Great Leaders Don't Just Sit at the Top. So let's introduce and get to know our other panelists. So Angie, why don't you start first?
Okay, well, I'm Angie Schmitz, and I work as an admin team lead in a global consulting firm, but I'm also a culture consultant and trainer through my personal business, Effective Perspective. And it's an honor to be part of this group because of my passion to help others, when in fact, they were the ones that helped me. And I'm truly grateful for that. My piece highlights a leadership style that has potential benefits that are not fully recognized. Over to you, Barb.
Yeah, I'm Megan.
My name is Meghan Simington. I'm a marketing launch strategist and consultant. I work with businesses for helping them for startups as well as launches that they're putting together. My piece is about building conscious connections, and I've given 4 tips for building a roadmap to those relationships. And I really feel honored to be a part of this book because that's exactly it, is having those conscious.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not
Sorry,
sure
we'll
who
just mute that
about.
person.
Thank you. And Karen.
Hi, everyone. I'm Karen Ta, and my day job includes working as a corporate trainer at an organization called PricewaterhouseCoopers, focusing on leadership development. But I'm also a certified coach, and I have a passion for helping those who feel invisible become more visible so that they can break through doors and ceilings. And the reason why I'm part of this book is partly because it's been on a bucket list of mine to be an author since I was a teen. So now it honestly feels like a dream to be here. And the other reason is I don't see many Asian Canadian women as authors, and it felt like it was important to overcome my imposter syndrome of not feeling like, I belong here and be part of that author group. And also being a role model to my two daughters to showcase that, hey, you can dream something big and eventually it'll come true. And my piece focuses on that specifically, creating a sense of belonging. And research has shown that, once employees feel like they belong, it creates a greater sense of engagement, lowers retention. And I'm writing from another perspective of being a founder of an inclusion network or employee resource group for East Asians and Southeast Asians, and what the power of a community can do like that to create a sense of belonging that has a cultural change that's really powerful.
Awesome. Awesome. And of course you do belong, Karen. So, and you all belong. Thank you for sharing. Those are really interesting components. I can't wait to read the book myself. I don't have a copy. We get a copy today. Yay. Okay. So we have a few questions we're going to ask of each of you then. So how do you balance being authentic to yourself while being a leader in different situations and different audiences? Why don't we go backwards this time? So Karen, why don't you start?
That's a tough question. I think that, again, being an Asian Canadian woman, I have to be honest and vulnerable at this point, and I feel like it's a bit of a tightrope. Sometimes, the authentic side of me feels like I have to be quiet and respectful to those that are more senior or elders in the room. And sometimes I feel like, no, I have something to say, and so I'm going to speak up. So it's a fine balance of being brave enough to overcome that cultural, I guess, upbringing, to feel like I have something important to say as a leader.
I love that. I'm so glad you're stepping up then, because there's a lot of people that need that. All right, Angie, why don't you go next?
Well, being authentic, given in any situation, is to be basically true to my core values. My values mean a lot to me, and I would like to know that, I feel that my actions and decisions are aligned with them. Often my inside voice comes out when I see that something's not right or someone's not being treated right. So authenticity is really important to me. It builds trust, and also knowing who my audience is and understanding how to communicate to that audience to get the message through is the key to authenticity, by still staying true to my values. So no matter what situation I'm in, I'm hoping that I'm remaining consistent in authenticity.
Oh, I love that, Angie. And I relate completely with that, with the values component. I teach that at the college when I'm teaching entrepreneurship. We always start with values because it's a driving factor for how we make decisions. So I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and Megan.
I really think that, being authentic to yourself is, just like Angie had said, owning your values and where you're kind of, setting forward for your business and who you want to attract in your life. I really think that, when you're creating relationships around yourself, it's really important to kind of capture those 5 people that are going to inspire you to be greater.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's from, your core, whether it's from being a parent or being a business owner, what is going to kind of strive you forward, where you can set an example, like Karen said, for your children, but also for your community where you can be of service.
I love it. I love it. Okay, so next question. What tips do you have for leaders who are suffering from the internal voice that questions whether you belong in the leadership space? And I know Karen's got a really good, because she's already kind of pointed at that. So I'm going to save you for last, Karen. And this time we'll start with Megan.
Sorry, can you say the question just one more time?
Sure. What tips do you have for leaders who are suffering from the internal voice that questions whether you belong in a leadership space?
Oh, I think we all question ourselves, and I think at any stage in our career, and I think always to remind ourselves that, every step is the first step in a new direction, and that we're learning from those steps, and there's always something to be taken away. So it might not be the most perfect first step, but you could probably learn a lot and take a lot away from that.
I love it. Okay, and Angie.
Well, growing up, I was that shy girl standing in the distance, pretending to be invisible and just closing my eyes saying, "Don't pick me, don't pick me." But unfortunately, I've been voluntold several times to be in leadership positions. And some may not agree with the statement I'm going to make, but leaders are not born or trained. Leaders evolve. And I really believe in that. Everyone evolves in every position that they're in. And through that, to make it work, we need to learn the techniques. We need to find the resources that provide the expertise, mentorship, and everything you need to do to grow as a leader. And as the years go by, you'll become more comfortable by being your natural self, because it takes time and hard work. And really, leadership is an art form. Like, there's no one size fits all.
I love it. That's a great answer. And Karen, how do we fit in? How do we fit
my
into our
goodness.
leadership spaces?
I feel like Meghan and Angie have such great responses. I would say, there's many times I haven't felt like I fit in. Obviously, even, in this 4 squares, like I feel like a little bit stuck out, to be honest. But I think that internal voice also will tell you, like, maybe there's a cheerleader out there for me. And so I've been lucky enough to have kind of a personal accountability board to kind of just run things by, whether it's by best friends or where it's close colleagues at work, to see like, hey, can I just run something by you? About to say something. Does it resonate? Does it not? To almost have that little safe space of, small group of like cheerleaders or personal advisory board or whatever you might call it, to run that by, to just kind of get a sense like, hey, like, does this make sense? And that kind of gives me some confidence, feel like, yeah, I belong at this table. I have a voice and it matters and it's going to land and it's going to stick. So find yourself that, group of cheerleaders.
I love that. That's great. And that's why we're all here, that we want to be part of a group of cheerleaders. So we only have a couple minutes, so I would like you to do this fairly quickly, and then we got a rapid fire. But I want to ask this question because my daughter and her friends are here, and they are young women, and I want them to hear what you have to say about how can we identify and develop women leaders around us. So Angie, why don't you start this time?
Well, for myself, as a privileged white woman, I need to really show up as an ally for women in the BIPOC community. Wherever you go, when you see a woman accomplishing and wants to move in her career, sponsor her by talking about her, raise her up to leadership and keep people in the organization. Again, being a mentor, and then teach them how to feel comfortable, because one of the things as women, we don't talk much about ourselves, and to self-advocate for ourselves like men do and feel comfortable about it. And lastly, those daughters and nieces and young women around us, lift them up so that they have the confidence they need to know that they've got it, and use it and speak up.
I love it. I love it. Karen.
I totally resonate with what Angie said about mentorship, and even more so importantly is sponsorship. Find that woman or women that you want to invest in, and whether it's your time or money or resources, find something to invest in them, and that might put them a little bit in their like outside of their comfort zone. But I think that's a way to stretch them. I know that I've done that with my team members, and a couple of my team members I see online will attest to that. But also, like, again, my kids, and so sometimes it's a little bit pushing themselves outside their comfort zone, but making sure that they feel supported and empowered along the way.
I love it. I love it. And Meghan, last word in this.
It's funny because I just had this conversation today. I have a 12-year-old and a 14-year-old, and just talking to another mother in the same position. I really think that, being a problem solver is probably one of the biggest things, but being a problem solver within your community, Angie kind of spoke to that about our privilege. So when we do see others that we can help, how can we pitch in? But I also think that one big thing that's really missed is that internal dialogue and how we talk to ourselves, and just reminding ourselves when we have that negative thing that's said out there, how do you reverse that and almost put a note, a post-it note on your mirror to tell you that dialogue's not always the best message, and it's not, your North Star. Your North Star is positivity.
I love it. These are great answers. Okay, This is a rapid fire, so one word that describes your leadership style. Oh, how about I start? I've got like, you guys know what to do, right? Okay, so I'm going to say transitional.
Integrity.
Thank you.
I would say engage.
Collaborative. Oh, sorry, Megan.
We're the same, right? Engagement and collaborative.
Yeah, collaborative.
Oh, you had the same word and you
I
shared
had
it at the same time.
And we said it almost at the same time.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing your insights into leadership.
Thank you. See ya.
So good. I'm going to join you on here now. Amazing. Thank you so much, Barb, for moderating the panel and for being an author in the book. Angie, Megan, Karen, such amazing points that you all gave.